Hi, my name's Sonia and this is my channel, See It Then, See It Now. Today's video is another junk drawer project. Let's take a look. The first thing I did was to make sure I wasn't about to ruin something valuable. Now, I didn't think these were worth much. I'd bought them from the charity shop for £8, right at the beginning when I was first planning the guest bedroom. I just loved the shape of them and I thought they would look beautiful in the room. The finish on them wasn't perfect though, there were lots of imperfections. But just in case, because this type of pottery can be collectible, I did a quick check. It turns out my jug and bowl are mass produced, they're not valuable at all, which made me very happy because I could go ahead and alter them with a clear conscience. I gave them a good wash and did a light sand with some fine sandpaper. Then I wiped away all the dust. I wanted to add a decorative clay trim, so I got out the clay and some moulds and started experimenting to come up with a design that I liked. Once I had a plan, I got to moulding the clay. Now this part takes time, I won't lie. The process itself is simple. You push the clay into the mould, making sure that it fills all the details. Keep the edges clean and smooth the top so that it's nice and even on the back side. The trick, however, with intricate moulds is to pop them in the freezer for about 15 to 20 minutes before removing the clay, and it makes the piece come out perfectly in one go. The thing was, I only had one mould in the design that I wanted, so every time I made one, I had to wait 20 minutes, cue a lot of breaks in between. Each time a clay trim was ready, I glued it around the edge of the bowl with wood glue. On the jug, I created a design around the top edge and covered some detail that I didn't like much, replacing the detail with a clay pattern that I loved. This all took a couple of evenings with me keeping myself busy while each mould chilled in the freezer. When all the moulds were in place and the clay was dry, it was time to paint. I did have some grey chalk paint, but I wanted it to be a little bit darker, so I added a bit of black acrylic. Now, I didn't want to paint the inside of the jug because the jug shape would have made that really tricky. I stuffed the inside with plastic bags and got to work on the first coat, using a sponge to get a smooth finish. Two coats later and it was all covered. Once the grey paint was dry, I dry brushed over the bowl and jug with white chalk paint just to add some variation, just so that it wasn't that flat grey colour. It also helped to highlight the clay mould details. I also kept all the brush strokes going in the same direction. As I was dry brushing, some areas it went on really faint, some areas it went on a bit thicker, which is great, that was the look I was going for. But there were a couple of areas where I did go a little bit too thick with the white, but it wasn't a problem because I just painted it back over it with the grey, and then once that was dry, went back over with the white, and you can't tell where I've patched it in. Now came the really fun part, making these look pretty. I used these gorgeous transfers on the front of the bowl. They're so easy to use. You just peel the backing off, place the design where you want it, rub it with the little stick that comes with the transfers, and then lift the plastic off. If any of the areas haven't stuck, you just put it back down, rub it with the stick again, and then peel it off. Once the bowl was done, I added one to the jug. The beautiful design just appears. The lettering on the transfer didn't really show up against the grey on the jug, and I was really unsure whether to try paint over it just to make it show more. So after a bit of deliberation, I decided just to go for it anyway. I went over it with black acrylic paint. Now I knew it wasn't going to be perfect, and I was fine with that. I think flawless wouldn't really have suited the look of the jug anyway, but black is very unforgiving, and so I was a little bit worried about this one. I didn't want it to look sloppy, and I think it turned out really well. I'm glad that I took the chance. Once that was dry, all that was left to do was to seal them both with a coat of white wax. So let's have a reminder and see it then. And let's see it now. I absolutely love how this turned out, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments and hit that like button. If you did enjoy this video, then I've got lots more like this, so do make sure that you're subscribed. You can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram. I have left a list of everything that I used in the description box if you do want to give this a go. And all that's left for me to say is thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you very soon in the next one. Bye!